Hi guys, I just wanted to pop on here real quick to just prick your thoughts as well as share some of the things that I have just been pondering lately. Society is really tricky right now, and it's almost hard for us to just reintegrate and communicate and relate and, let's face it, love each other and love others. But something that has just really been on my heart is going back to our first love and how he did it. It's really been on my heart and mind lately, just thinking about how would Jesus do it. And a lot of that is you just got to go back to the Bible and ask yourself how he did do it. How did Jesus do it? What were his approaches like? And I get it, we all have different personalities, and so that's going to be a factor, but there's always whole truths as to how Jesus lived and treated and loved others, and asked us to love others, and asked us how to reach others and to reach others. And I think that sometimes we get so caught up in the theological aspects of things that we think because of right and wrong, as long as we're saying a right and wrong, then we can say it however we want, we can treat someone however we want, but that's not necessarily Jesus's approach to people. And the other thing is I think in a day of followers and likes and public figures, we easily get caught up in, well, how does this Christian respond? And we allow that to influence us and how we respond. But more often than not, because of these habits of following and the people that, when you flip on our phones and we see what's going on and how everyone is, it's easy to do that, follow. And I think that we really fail to see who we really need to be following, and that is Jesus. So it's like, I go back to look at how he treated Zacchaeus. Look at how he loved him, even in the middle of his sin, his corruption, and who he was and what he was known for. How did Jesus treat him? I think of the woman at the well and the way he was with her. How did he treat her? Mary Magdalene, again, how did he treat her? And Jesus never compromised his convictions. Everyone knew what the truth was, and he spoke truth, but he loved people, and the way he took time with them and approached them and just put them first. And I think back to what Jesus asked Peter. I don't think that we put ourselves in Peter's shoes enough, that what he asked Peter to do is what he strongly asked us to do. He said, "Peter, do you love me?" And he was like so hurt that he asked him that. He's like, "Of course I love you." He's like, "Then feed my sheep." He didn't ask him, "Do this for me, prepare this for me, if you love me." He said, "Feed my sheep," which is love my people. And feeding is nurturing. Especially back then, it took so much more time to get food together for somebody, and the work that went into basically farm to table back then, there was so much more intentionality that went into feeding and nourishing that person. And I think these days we're just grabbing the food and we are just throwing it at the faces of people. I don't think that's what God asked us to do. I don't think that's what he wants us to do. And so I just thought I'd pop on here and be like, because I asked myself that. I asked myself a lot of questions just to help me to be who I'm supposed to be, who I'm meant to be, because I'm a fiery person. And so sometimes I'm just like, how would Jesus act? Because so many times we're like, if Jesus were here today, it'd be so much easier. But we're already ignoring the things that he led with back then. And so just ask yourself that. How was Jesus with people in the Bible? How did he love them? How did he treat them? And I think if we as Christians ask ourselves that more, as a church ask ourselves that more, we will be leading better, loving better, reaching people better. I think we'll do a lot of things differently. And I know sometimes people are like, well, Jesus turned over tables, so he got mad. Well, when you really look at that within context, he got mad because of how things were being represented in his house. In modern day speak, that would be like, we know about branding, right? You know, building branding, and you know, one business can be like, this business over here might not be doing things right. And, you know, people know what I stand for within what I think is integral within a business. And so this is how I run my business over here. But, you know, we might be gracious to what they're doing wrong. But we know how we represent our brand and what that is. But it's a whole different reaction when someone comes within your brand and misrepresents that name and everything it stands for. Not to mention, there's a whole lot more on the line, because for Jesus, eternity is on the line, not misrepresenting a product within a brand, right? And so in modern day speak, that's what happened back then. It was like, and there was corruption going on, and it was representing his holy place, which represented him. And he was like, I will not be represented this way. My Father's heart will not be represented this way. And so more so than anything, that's holding a higher standard to Christians and the church, not what people in the world are doing. You see what I mean? Like, we are meant to respond and reach others better and differently in truth and according to the Bible. But we really have to ask ourselves, how did God love and reach people in the Bible? And what did this really mean within context with Jesus and his why? And so, if anything, that verse isn't an excuse to do things wrong because of what we view is wrong. If anything, it's holding ourselves to a higher standard in how we lead and love others and live within our convictions and represent Jesus. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that and feedback, because I'll probably pop on here again. I like conversations. So anyway, I'm just curious your thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear from you. But be pondering that, because it matters. It's so important. It matters. People matter. And yeah, don't forget the things that matter.